What up, everybody? Hope you're having a good day today. You know, I got some good videos for you, but I also got some pictures that I took, and I finally got them for you here on the internet to share. Some old world pictures, pictures of buildings. I hope you're into that, because that's what I'm going to share with you. And a surprise picture. Ooh, a surprise picture. I love surprises. All right, let's get into it.
Welcome to the Vortex water machine with tensor ring pyramid to the 51 degree Giza. So this is the Giza pyramid.
Have you guys ever heard about doing anything like this to water using copper to hold your water, doing any of the putting tensor rings around it? You can see he's got a pyramid shaped something or another going on in here to organize the water. Because they might have done that with all the fountains back in the day that you would see back in the day in the old world stuff that we're all into here on this channel. I would assume they had fountains everywhere, and one of the beliefs is that it helped organize the water. So I don't know.
Which was hydrogen power plants originally, and then we got tensor rings with the Mayan cubit and the 144 and the 51 degree pyramid tensor rings, creating a vortex, ether. They call it ether vortex.
Wow.
It's what Tesla was working on back in the day.
Wow. It
Once I
definitely
put
feels,
amplifiers.
It definitely feels electrical. My body can feel it. It made me
Like
smile.
when people drank this at the
I'd like to try some, regardless. Put it through that thing. It seems nice. Hopefully, it's not some witchcraft. Hopefully, it's just ether energy, nice charged water just pulsing through your body. That would be lovely.
Giants are real. And this footage made a lot of people uncomfortable.
Do you guys believe in giants? They're talked about in the Bible.
During a live interview, Mr. Yeshing noticed two figures sitting in the audience. He stopped mid-sentence and asked them to come up on stage.
Those are
The
some
moment they
big
stood
dudes.
up, you could tell something wasn't normal.
Giant or no
These weren't just
giant.
tall people. They were estimated to be 10 to 13 feet tall. Later, Yeshing said, "This is the tallest person I've ever seen." And here's why he couldn't let it go. If there had only been one, it could have been a medical anomaly. But there were two, same build, same proportions. That's when he realized this might not be an exception. It might be a group, because sightings like this have been reported around the world, different places, same legends.
They look like
So maybe
healthy
the question
dudes.
isn't whether giants exist.
I don't
It's how
know.
long
I have no idea.
they've been standing right in front of us.
I'm sure there's giants around us. I'm sure there's been huge people, and I don't think it's just gigantism either. I think there was giants. I do think there was giants.
Nuclear weapons are faker than space. And a nuclear weapon was never dropped, ever, in the history of humanity. Now, I know you're going to be like, oh, that's not true. What about Nagasaki and Hiroshima? Well, let me tell you something about Nagasaki and Hiroshima. So, Tokyo was devastated from a series of fire bombings. This is the aftermath of a
That's the aftermath of a fire bombing. That's why I wanted to bring this one up, because we hear so many stories in the old world tales of the fires that burned through all these cities, and people say it looks like a nuclear bomb went off, or I don't know why all these stone and brick buildings are melting and blowing up. You think the wood stuff would burn once again, but not all the stone that's just blown up and destroyed. So some of these are pictures of, apparent nuclear bombs dropped, and it doesn't make sense exactly.
firebombing series in Tokyo. Now let that soak in. So if we go to Hiroshima and look at the aftermath, it looks just like the aftermath of a series of fire bombings. And how are power lines and telephone poles?
You see the telephone poles and the wires in the old world buildings next to these fires and stuff, and you wonder the same thing. What did they do? Why are those wooden poles standing next to a statue that's made out of stone, concrete, something smashed on the ground, part of a building that's made out of stone? It doesn't make sense.
Still standing after apparently the most devastating explosion humanity has ever seen. And you know what's crazy? There was actually a hospital that was right next to the drop zone in Hiroshima of the nuclear bomb, and everyone in the hospital actually survived. And what about the nuclear fallout, to where the place should be uninhabitable for hundreds or thousands of years? It's a flourishing city now. Do you see what I'm saying? All you have to do is use common sense and connect the dots. And if you watch all of these videos of nuclear explosions, you know, the Nuketown testing, it's all fake. It's just like the moon landing. It's a Hollywood production. Like,
You got to watch some of those videos. If you haven't seen that before, you can see, you got to ask yourself, why didn't the camera move? What happened to the film? Why is there was one of these test explosions where a car was at one time not behind the building, and then all of a sudden it was there, and there's a lot of fishy stuff going around with the nuclear testing images that they're giving us and videos.
it is
That's why they would wear copper around their ankles and their wrists, because the copper would actually remove inflammation and pain. Because the ancients realized that our body is made of meridian lines, which is where electricity travels through our electric bodies. And therefore, by wearing copper, you are enhancing the energy flow to that specific area. And therefore, if they had wrist pain, they would be seen wearing copper bracelets. And those copper bracelets would then enhance the energy flow and the wrist pain would be gone. But not only that, there is meridian lines in your fingers and your neck, which is where necklaces and rings came from, because they would also wear copper necklaces. And
Do you guys wear any copper necklaces or jewelry or anything like that and see any sort of benefit with it? Like any of those that have the magnets built into the bracelets or anything like that? Because I bought one. I bought one too, surprisingly not. I bought one of those, and I don't know if it has an effect or not. I can't really tell anything exactly, but I didn't really have wrist pain. I didn't know what it did. I don't know if it had to do with, once again, organizing some sort of structure in your blood or something else, or increasing that energy field around you, whatever it may be made out of, pure thoughts or whatever. Stuff's weird, but copper seems to have a lot of interesting properties. Let's ask ChatGPT maybe. What are some fascinating properties about copper? Yo, ChatGPT, what are some fascinating electrical properties and other strange properties of copper that the average person wouldn't know about?
Copper. More than just wiring. A neat fact is that copper is the only metal apart from gold that has a natural color other than gray or silver. It also has what's called a memory. Not literally, but in the sense that copper can remember stress through work hardening. Plus, it's antimicrobial. Copper surfaces naturally kill bacteria and viruses over time. Kind of a built-in hygiene feature.
That wasn't your brain. That was my computer. I apologize from that. It's antimicrobial, which is interesting. Kills bacteria and viruses over time. So, that's a lot
No
of...
worries.
That's the reason why we had a lot of copper piping back in the days, I believe, in our houses too. And another reason why they wanted to switch to plastics, because, we don't have enough plastics in our body at the moment. We should probably get some more in there.
Have you ever wondered why when rockets take off, they never maintain their trajectory going straight up? They always curve. Now, I'm not saying we're in a dome, but when you watch this video, if you take into account what it mentions in Genesis, which is that we're under a firmament, the earth is strong in its foundations and it will not be moved. That's the opposite of what NASA says, by the way. Apparently we're moving at a bajillion miles an hour, hurtling through the sky, and it's absolutely wild up there. And there's space and aliens. Listen, so when this rocket gets to a certain height, it's going to look like it smacks onto a body of water. It literally looks like ripples in water. Now, apparently the firmament is not water. Look at that. What did it hit? The atmosphere.
I mean, that looks like a big splash or something. It's really weird. It hits something. Something is going on.
It went through different densities of air and freaking, what is that? So it's not that there's necessarily water up there. It gets to a point where it's like a jelly-like ether. And then above that are the waters above the firmament. At least that's what it says in Genesis. So don't argue with me. Now, the crazy part that is not mentioned in this video. Now, you realize, too, if we have been fibbed to about the true shape of this realm, that would be the biggest lie ever. And everything else would come crumbling down and would be exposed if we found out the shape of the earth is not quite what they said. So the question is, are all of our ancestors, which were building things, magnificent structures, living organically, they had advanced knowledge, they also believed it was flat. So were they all wrong? They were right about building and ancient knowledge and whatnot, but they were wrong about the shape. They got it wrong. The shape is actually a ball. People used to think the earth is flat. Yes, every single advanced, the Mayans, the Egyptians, carvings in stone, flat. But the crazy part is if it's flat, what the Sam damn are we on, dude? I know you're already thinking that. Well, we got lands past the ice wall. Maybe it goes on for infinity, man. But it's definitely, likely, in my opinion, not a ball hurtling through space. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below and follow for more.
Do you guys think we live under a dome? I mean, it says plain as day right in the Bible. It's really interesting. It's really interesting to think. I sometimes think that they would like us to think that we live under a dome or that we don't live under a dome and that we live under a rock and that we're not special and that we're just due to random chance and that we aren't God's beautiful creations and we're just something that could be altered or changed or, manipulated at any moment because it's just part of your environment. And if you change your environment and you change the rules, then that's just what it is. And life doesn't really have a meaning. So I think it all is some big scheme like that. I really do think there's something to do that. But at the same time, it seems crazy. But at the same time, I've never seen a star. I've always thought it was really weird how we just see the stars not as blurs or anything like that, and they're always in the exact same spot in the sky. It doesn't make sense for millennia, even though we're on on a planet rotating, spinning around another star, which is flinging through space, yet everything is just in the same spot all the time for us. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. I couldn't prove it once again either way. I can't see very far, to prove that the earth is one way or the other flat or not. It looks like a horizon. I think the sun is local. I don't know how we get the heat from that. There was a video the other day, I think that I skimmed over and I forgot to say something about, but they're saying how light travels through like the ether or something like that, or plasma or something. I was thinking, what does light travel through? It has to have some medium if it's a wave or a particle, right? And what does it travel through? I'm not sure.
Do you remember when they told us this was just a mountain? What if I told you they were lying? Because recently, a shocking theory has exploded across the internet and caused massive shock in the scientific community because it concerns a place we all know, Devil's Tower. Official science claims this mountain was formed by a specific flow of lava, but look closer, because the truth is much more incredible. Theorists believe that Devil's Tower isn't a mountain at all. They believe it is the stump of a prehistoric giant tree, a tree so massive its canopy would have reached the clouds.
So there's a lot of theories that some of these big rock features like Devil's Tower are a big tree. I went to school for forestry, and I don't know what to think about that, to be completely honest. It is really weird that they say that that's from magma forming perfectly like that. That seems very odd. Once again, the Bible talks about big trees and giants, and it would. I live in Wisconsin. We used to have large trees in Wisconsin that were 15 feet in diameter, even larger. And it would be wonderful to have these large trees now. I don't know what happened to them. We say that in the past we had larger insects, we had larger animals of all sorts of kinds. Why would it be weird if we had larger people and larger trees and a lot of different things? Mainstream science says that, and religious texts say that. It's interesting, but it's hard to tell. And people talk about the pareidolia all the time, but there's some really fascinating looking ones that make you think twice. I'll tell you that. Make me think twice. I don't know what to think about it. I think it would be weird, and I would think so. This is for me personally. I'm like, well, when I first heard of all these giants and stuff, I'm like, well, where'd they come from? Where'd they go? They're eating on something. We know how big this earth is. And then I thought, or do we? Maybe we do live in a little dish and they come from different places and we just are in this dome, which is some electromagnetic thing that's, separating the waters from above from the waters below, and the sun and the moon to light the sky inside. And maybe there's stuff from other places that came and walked across, and I'm like, oh, then it could make sense that this is much larger. I mean, there are other things that are smaller than us and things that are bigger than us, and why couldn't that continue a little bit more in each direction, more than we understand or are told about or can see?
One thing about flat Earth that does trip me out: Google images of satellites. Just like type in satellite. Just all.
There's no real pictures?
Not a single one is not. This is the one thing that tripped me out. I'm not gonna lie. They're all just like renders.
Why?
It's true.
Why you think?
This is the one. I'm gonna say this is the one thing that trips me out. I've never seen a satellite that was real. I'm just saying. I'm not a flat earther. I'm just saying.
I've never seen a satellite that was real too, that I know for sure. I think I've seen them in the sky flying around or doing stuff like that. I was really freaked out the first time I saw, not Neuralink, Skylink or whatever, Skynet, not Skynet, whatever Elon Musk is throwing with this chain of low-flying satellites. The first time I saw that, it freaked me out, and I didn't know enough about it at the time years ago, and that was fascinating. But other than that, I haven't seen one in person, and I can't say I know for sure that I've seen an actual picture of one that was in the sky. I don't know.
Yeah, that is very strange now that you bring that up. Why would they want to sell us on Earth being round?
That's not the only thing they're selling you on. They're selling you on space as well. That's why you thinking like that, because you thinking outer space and all those other planets and stuff.
Are real?
Like that. Yeah. Huh?
You don't think they're real? You don't think sun's real?
No. Sun is real. The sun and the moon is real.
Okay.
But outer space is not.
Well, then what is it? What are we
It's
doing?
water. Over the firmament is water.
Over the firmament, he's talking.
We're in the ocean right now?
We under the firmament, under the dome, and there's water over the firmament. Says it in the Bible. Planets are wandering stars that you think about.
So you think all that, like them going to Mars stuff, is all?
Here is a beautiful scenic.
Interesting.
2 million people gone, not dead, not emigrated, just removed from the records, as if they were never there, but they were there. And someone went to extraordinary lengths to make sure you'd never know about them. It was February 2019. I was in the National Archives Annex in College Park, Maryland, doing research on 19th century immigration patterns. Tedious work. I'd requested census microfilm for Pennsylvania, 1890, expecting the usual. Families, occupations, ages. The reading room was quiet. That particular silence of places where people handle old things carefully. Fluorescent lights humming, the smell of old paper and machine oil from the microfilm readers. I threaded the film onto the reader, wound it forward, found Allegheny County, Pittsburgh District, started scanning the columns, and then I stopped. Under the remarks column, which is usually blank or contains notes like cannot read or border, I saw something else. 7 feet 8 in. I stared at it, rubbed my eyes. The notation was clear, handwritten in the same ink as the rest of the page, the same hand. Not a later addition, part of the original enumeration.
Big boy.
One entry like that, you'd call it an anomaly. Someone with gigantism perhaps. Rare, but not impossible. But the next page had 3 more. 7 feet 4 in, 7:11 in, 8 feet 2 in. I kept going. The next street, more notations. 7 feet 5 in, 7 feet 6 in, 7 feet 9 in. Not in every entry. Maybe 1 in 15, 1 in 20.
I wonder what
enough
in
to be impossible
means.
to ignore. I went back to the beginning of the enumeration district, counted carefully. In a population of approximately 8,400 people in that single district, there were 412 height notations. All of them between 7 feet 2 inches and 8 feet 5. That's roughly 5% of the population. I sat back from the microfilm reader.
Yeah, that's not a small amount of large people, and I'm pretty sure there are many bones recovered and hidden by the Smithsonian all across the United States that would clearly show that we have had ancestors that were much larger than us, and I'm pretty sure not too long ago in the very near past 1800s, probably some survivors today, but a majority of them being wiped out probably in the 1700s, 1800s is still my guess, which doing all this interesting old world stuff. I'm just kind of throwing it as one big term of some sort of reset, something that happened. We came from a more advanced time and kind of are starting to get back some of the information that they gave us, and that we knew a lot more about a lot of things than they're telling us now. But sweet. So I went around, took some nice pictures with this nice new camera I got. I may look good on it now, but I took some mediocre pictures. Stick with me here. Most of them are pretty clear. You'll get the picture. First one, a beautiful kitty. That's my cat, Lucy. All right, next one. So here is a church in my area in Appleton, Wisconsin. How many of you have a church like this in your town? This is just a good example of what I would consider an old world building, of just something that we just don't do anymore, or was very difficult to do when it was said it was done, and kind of over the top for the time that it was being built. You just don't think they were building this, and they build it so well. It's just a beautiful building. So a lot of these churches, we talk a little bit about cymatic patterns. These might be some sort of cymatic pattern right here. This is kind of where I think they would be located. I know this is called a quatrefoil in some places, this 4-leaf clover pattern. You got to watch for that. I'm not sure. It says Zion Lutheran Church. So how would you know if this was a Lutheran church compared to some other church, a Catholic church, whatever it may be? What I notice in a lot of these old world structures are these arches like this. They pop out, they're 3D. They don't seem to have any real function that I know, but I see this design cut out all over on so many different buildings. This sort of stuff up in here, similar like that. I don't know if I'm sounding just generic about this, but this is just a beautiful large church. You can see way up here now. We've talked about ether, electricity, and how some of these buildings might harness some of this ether energy. And then, it seems weird, but then you see some of this stuff going on. You wonder, what is this? What does this have to do with God or religion or the design of a certain people, or or time or something. What are those things? We got a clock up here. Gotta remember these windows here. These things, if you look at the size of those bricks, you can zoom in even a little bit more. That detail, that's all about the same size, maybe of this glass thing here. About, you know, as we go all the way up to that top. Maybe a little bit bigger here. Lots of detail. And we go and we zoom into even these little sections up here. You notice there's just 3D in the 3D. Like, there's lots of detail in here. There's so many different angles, and this is, you know, this piece is this one piece inside here, fit together with all this. Let's not forget that decoration on the top. And then we zoom out. That's just all just one, you know, of that piece, which is just of this whole top piece, you know, really, which is just of this church. Just simple like that. Those are some remarkable details. And this, as we zoom in here, you can see it looks like, I don't know if this is the date of the building, but it says AD 1902 in a clearly different style cornerstone than you would see. As different material as the rest of the building here. So let's go on the next ones here. Let's go. Here's another shot of this beautiful building, kind of from the side. We talk about these mud flood style. Sometimes these windows that are peeking out of the ground for some reason. Really want to get that. My poor cat's outside, wants to come inside. It's meowing. Maybe you hear him. Just a beautiful church though. Let's go on to the next one here. A couple more. Here you can see a little bit more of that side. See that stained glass? You can see this kind of design that you'll see in a lot of churches just like this. You view this for one. Well, let's go on the next one here. See up the top, way up there. Trying to see if I can get even the scales of this roof. Everything is just the detail on all of this. We can't see that from the ground, but that's the level of detail that they put all the way here at the tippy top. Dang. They say that maybe this has some sort of mercury. This is some sort of energy, something or another. Does this look like the same material? Does it look like they added that cross later? Was that always there? Here's another style of building that's all over. This one happened to be in Menominee, Michigan. This is a library. A beautiful library. And now, doesn't this look like something that could withstand a fire? Definitely withstand a fire. At least a fire. But these things are just so robust. Ooh, what am I doing here? I'm flipping around. I apologize. These things are so robust. Why do they have these columns? Why do we need this? Why does it have this, a canthum leaf? I forget the name. A canthum leaf? I should know that by now. We always see this on these old world buildings, this kind of thing going on. That ChatGPT was a style, but also helped for some sort of structure. But I don't know, it doesn't seem like when it's always used that it's necessary at every time. So I'm not sure what it's all about, to be honest. Another just beautiful building though. Then we can see what we have, the new attachment. This is what we do now. We've got this nice clear version of before and after. 1 or 2. 1 or 2. Here's just a beautiful building. I like the looks of this building with this nice red, a nice brick. Here's another beautiful old world style building, which I would consider. They always have these rotundras on the corner of what I think is a rotunda. Am I saying that? Is that right? Rotunda? Rotundra? That seems like tundra, like the frozen tundra. But this is just a beautiful building as well. Just looking great. Still standing. Still just doing great. Here's that red building again from another angle. Here you can see that same blocking done here, larger style, the smaller. Just detail, 3D. There's a lot of 3D detail to this stuff. It's 3D, not just one layer, multiple layers. Just always looks pleasing. It doesn't look overwhelming, doesn't look too large and burdensome. You feel comfortable to be around it. Oops. So how many guys also have a bank in your town that looks something like this? This is also in Menominee. I mean, I don't know if this is Roman concrete. I don't know if this is some sort of stone. I'm going to guess it's concrete. All these buildings, my guess is concrete. And as I was kind of looking at one of these pictures today, at this picture earlier today, I noticed that it looks like on each one of these columns we do have some sort of seam. Looks like we have a seam here where they made this top part. Because I always thought, man, if you're making that thing out of stone, you're making it out of concrete, whatever it is, how do you make it with this thing on there too? But it looks like in this case, they do have seams. So we have this midsection here. Still remarkable. We do have some other seams, it looks like, in there. So we're putting these together in some sort of chunks, whether they're stone or concrete, but nonetheless remarkable, and they stand beautiful today, and they look fresh and clean. Just like you wipe this building down, you think, dang, that thing is new. Brand new building. Love that thing. Here's a view from the side. So this is something I talked about a little bit yesterday. I was going like this and like, why do they fill in these things that look like they should be windows with bricks? Well, the buildings don't always look as like this concrete style, but they do. Well, they usually are brick, but this is the style of window that I'm saying. Usually they used to be this big and they filled them all in brick, and now you'll just see these arches on the side. But this is just a beautiful building. I mean, so robust. That thing looked good when it was built and looks great today. Really zoom in on there. It's beautiful stuff. Just big pieces. Cool, and I think cool. That's all the pictures I got for today, and those are the clips I got for you as well. I hope you have a good one. Remember, all this stuff is just for entertainment purposes. Do your own research, but other than that, have a lovely rest of the day. I'll see you guys tomorrow.